Hey, have you been feeling low, unmotivated, or like the joy has just faded? Well, in today's episode, we are diving into real, natural ways to fight depression after 55. And this is without shame and without judgment. So let's talk about healing body, mind, and spirit. Hi, I'm Roy, and welcome back to episode 9 of Life After 55. And this is the channel where we explore natural remedies, spiritual encouragement, and simple wellness for those of us navigating the second half of life. Now, if you're new here, I'm glad you found us. And if you've been with me before, thank you. Your support means the world. Now, in this episode, we're going to take on something many people over 55 struggle with quietly. And that struggle is with depression. Whether it's mild, persistent sadness, or something deeper that makes it hard to get out of bed. This episode is for you. And if you haven't seen our recent episodes on stress, anxiety, or brain fog, I encourage you to go and check those out. Everything's connected, and this might just be the missing piece. Before we jump in, just a quick note. All right? Now, I am not a doctor, a therapist, or a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. What I'm sharing here is based on my own research, lived, experienced, and the stories of others who've walked this road. Now, this video is meant to educate and encourage, but it is not medical advice. So if you are struggling with depression or thinking about trying a new supplement or treatment, please talk to a qualified healthcare provider first. All right, with that said, let's start with some understanding, because knowledge is power. Okay? Now, the first thing we need to understand is that depression after 55 can look much different than it does when we were younger. It's not always about crying or sadness. Now, sometimes it shows up as loss of interest in things we once enjoyed, feeling tired all the time, trouble concentrating, changes in appetite, or changes in sleep for that matter, or just a dull, heavy fog that won't lift. And there are real reasons for this too. Now, our brain chemistry changes as we age, okay? Hormones shift, especially after menopause or during andropause, which is the male version of that, for those of you who didn't know that. Some of us may be living with chronic pain or illness, and I know that is not easy and that can be very depressing. Many of us have lost people we loved, or even our sense of purpose. And again, these things are all very heavy things to deal with, and certainly can bring on, depression. Some medications like blood pressure drugs, painkillers, or steroids, they can also contribute to depression. And then there is loneliness. Okay? Isolation is a hidden epidemic in this country, and probably, well, I don't know about around the world, because other cultures tend to take care of their elderly, whereas our culture tends not to. But anyways, loneliness is a hidden epidemic in isolation, and it's especially true for older adults. Now, the good news is this: depression is not a permanent identity, okay? It's a condition, and it can be addressed naturally, gently, and effectively for that matter. So let's talk about some natural supports that have real science and real impact. Now, the first thing is omega-3 fatty acids. We've talked about this before with the brain fog and with inflammation and a lot of other things. Again, if you watch some of the other videos we've put out here, you'll see that these all kind of tie together. And these things are pretty incredible with all the things they'll help you with, all the conditions that you might have that these can help you with. So, once again, Omega-3 fatty acids are found in wild-caught salmon, flaxseed, and walnuts. Walnuts are a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s support brain health and they do reduce inflammation. Okay? Vitamin D is another one. Many older adults are deficient in vitamin D, especially people that don't go out much. They're in the house all the time or inside all the time. They're not getting any sunshine. As we get older, we tend not to drink any milk, which has vitamin D in it. Try some sunlight every day. Or if that's, if you have tender skin or whatever and you can't really go out in the sun, consider a D3 supplement after talking with your doctor. Now, just to give you a little sidebar here, about, 2 years ago, I guess it was, I had this lump on my head, it was like up in here, and it wouldn't go away. And I had my son take a picture of it just because I was worried, and he took a picture of it. And, when I looked at the picture, to me, it looked like it was a cancerous growth or whatever, So I went to the doctor and I told the doctor, that I think I have skin cancer. And he looked at it and he said, yeah, he goes, it looks like it's just starting or whatever. He goes, we're going to try something. He goes, it's not bad now, but he said, we're going to try something. We're going to try to freeze it if you're okay with that and see if that does anything. And so that's what wound up happening, long story short, and it went away. So since then, and he also told me, listen, guys that are getting older like you and me, because he was an older gentleman, and he said, guys that are getting older like you and me can't stay out in the sun like we used to. He said, and especially those of you who are losing the old grass on the top of the head there, you've got to start wearing a hat and stuff like that. So now, as you can see, it's summertime here and there's a lot of sun here. So now I'm wearing long sleeve shirts in the summer. These are summer shirts, beach shirts, whatever you want to call them. And I do wear a hat when I go outside. So neither here nor there. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Anyhow, magnesium and B complex vitamins, these two help to regulate the nervous system, and they support neurotransmitters that affect your mood. Another important aspect of this is gut health. Now, there's a strong link between gut bacteria and mental health. If you're not already eating some fermented foods, try adding some, like yogurt is a good example. Have some yogurt every day if you can. Sauerkraut is another great thing, and I know that's not up everybody's cup of tea as far as taste and stuff goes, but those are good examples. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but another thing is fiber-rich fruits and vegetables. They help too. Okay. So there are also herbal supports, and two natural supplements that have shown promise for depression are, one is St. John's wort, and then SAMe, which is another one. So let me explain both of those to you, because frankly, before I researched this, I had no idea what SAMe was. I knew kind of what St. John's wort is, but there may be those of you out there who don't know what any of these are, like I was before I started researching this. So St. John's wort is an herb that's been used for centuries to help lift people's moods and ease anxiety. Some studies even suggest that it works similarly to prescription antidepressants, and it does that by helping the brain use chemicals like serotonin more effectively. But there's a catch. St. John's wort can interact with a lot of medications, including antidepressants, heart meds, and even birth control. So do not take it without checking with your doctor first. I repeat, do not take it without checking with your doctor first. All right? Now, SAMe. This is short for now, I may not pronounce this correctly, adenosyl methionine. Methionine, that's what it is. It's okay. So it's S-adenosyl methionine. And that's a substance that your body naturally makes. It plays a big role in brain function, liver health, and in joint repair, believe it or not. Think of it like a little helper molecule that supports mood, it supports energy and overall balance in your body. Some people take it as a supplement to help with depression or arthritis. But again, check with a healthcare provider, especially if you are on other meds. Okay? Now let's talk about lifestyle changes that can help. Now here's where people tend not to really pardon me. The COPD has been acting up today. This is where people tend to kind of not get into this, but the first thing is, and I put I guess the worst one for a lot of people first, so we get that out of the way. The first one here that you see is movement. And I know when you're feeling low, that's the last thing you want to do. But believe it or not, even a gentle walk around the block, just stretching out, or even light gardening can boost endorphins and help to lift your mood. Okay, another thing you could do is journaling. If you're somebody who likes to write things down, if you had a diary growing up or whatever, or still have one, that's another thing that helps. If you try writing down 3 things that you are thankful for every day, it might feel forced at first, but it rewires the brain toward hope over time. And if you sat there and thought about 3 things that you were thankful for rather than 3 things you're miserable about, trust me, it does help. I've done it once or twice. I do not do it religiously because I use other things to get me out of a slump when I'm in one. But I have done it, and it works. All right, and again, better sleep. Now, this is something we've gone over in the last 2 or 3 episodes of Life After 55. Stick to a routine. Shut off your phone early. Shut off your computer early. Shut off your TV early. At least an hour before you go to bed. And if you're sitting there bored and going, gee, I can't do nothing without my phone. I can't do nothing without my telephone or my television. Grab a book. Read something. Even if it's a brochure or anything, it'll get your mind off of whatever you're depressed about. And do that while you're having some tea, like, some chamomile or some lemon balm. Small steps like this, repeated daily, can create big shifts. And another thing to keep in mind is that depression thrives in isolation. You ever notice, like, when you're really bummed out, you're just by yourself and you just, oh, woe is me and everything. And again, I'm not trying to make light of this. Believe me, I'm not. Some people are very seriously depressed and on the edge. And when you're like that, you tend to be by yourself and nobody cares. And, those are the things that are going through your mind. So connection in a lot of cases is key as well. And you could try, community. And by that, I mean churches, senior centers, book clubs, or even an online group can offer connection and meaning. Volunteering for something. Giving back helps you feel useful, and it boosts your mood in powerful ways. There was somebody I knew about 5 years ago that I haven't really stayed in touch with since, but she used to volunteer at a soup kitchen, and she always felt good when she left there, because she was helping others, and it made her feel needed. She had connection with other people that were volunteering there, and so that's something else to consider. And then reach out, schedule a weekly call with a friend or a family member, even just a 10-minute check-in, and try and make something like that a routine. And then, last but not least, talk to somebody. Therapy and or counseling isn't a weakness. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to go see a shrink or a counselor or anything. It just shows that I'm weak, especially guys, I think. Women, not so much, but I think guys are more in that mindset is like, it shows that I'm a weak guy. I'm not, macho man or whatever. And the fact is, it's not a weakness, In fact, it shows wisdom. Sometimes just saying things out loud can lighten the load and, that you've been carrying. You don't have to fix it all today, but taking one step toward connection can start the healing. Sometimes, even when we're doing everything right, I mean, like eating better, getting some sunlight, reaching out to others, moving, there's still a heaviness that we just can't explain. And for those of you who've been with me for a while, you already know where I stand on this. Pardon me. I believe in God, I believe in prayer, and I believe with all my heart that Jesus is the great healer. Again, we're talking about, if you are somebody that believes in creation, in the Bible, in Jesus, in God, you know that when Jesus was on this earth, he healed lepers. People that were blind, he made them see again. There wasn't anything that he came up against that he couldn't handle. So I'm not a preacher or a doctor, and I'm not here to push anything on anybody. But I do know what it's like to feel low, to feel forgotten, or to wonder if things will ever get better. And I also know the comfort that comes from turning to God in those quiet, broken moments when nobody else sees what you're doing or what you're going through. So I just want to take a minute to speak not just to your body or your brain, but I'd like to speak to your soul briefly. If you are struggling today, spiritually, emotionally, or physically, I would like to read a verse from the scriptures that may offer you some encouragement and light when you're feeling down. So feel free to grab your Bible. I'm going to grab mine right now. And I've got my Bible. And I am going to be reading. Feel free to grab yours and read along with me. And the verse I am going to share with you comes today from Psalms, and we are going to turn to chapter 34. Now, Psalms is kind of sort of in the middle of your Bible. It's a big book, and we want Psalm 34. And here I've got Psalm 27, 29, 37, Psalm 34, verse 18. And the verse reads as follows. The Lord, and again, I read from the King James Version. That's just the Bible that I have, and I've always believed that was the better Bible. That's just my opinion. Not to say that your Bible is any lesser or anything like that, so don't take that the wrong way. But the verse in the King James Version reads as follows. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Now, again, I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm not pushing anything on anybody. But, sometimes, when everything else fails, it's comforting to turn to God. And, he sees you. He hasn't forgotten you. And even if you feel numb, distant, or too tired to pray, he's still near. Like it or not, he is. Sometimes just sitting in silence and whispering something along the lines of, Lord, I need you, is enough. Don't let the enemy convince you that your life no longer matters. The devil, it says in the scriptures also, he roams about like a roaring lion seeking souls to devour. Don't give him the victory. Put it in Jesus' hands. And you still have purpose. You still have value, and you're still loved. Now, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, but if this episode spoke to you, if it helped you in any way feel even a little more seen or a little less alone, would you please do me a favor? Could you like, comment, share, and subscribe? Not because I'm chasing numbers, but because every one of these actions tells the algorithm to show this video to more people. And maybe, just maybe, it'll end up in front of someone who's been quietly struggling, someone who thinks they're all alone, someone who doesn't know what to do next, and who just needs to hear that their life still matters. We're trying to build something real here. A little community of folks who care, who support each other, pray for each other, and walk this road together. You know, again, I can't stress enough, a community is better than on your own. You know, like I equate it to when I was little, my mother used to always tell me this, this old adage that she had, that she would say, 2 horses pull a wagon better than one does, And I when I was little, it didn't mean anything to me. But the older I got, the more of that makes sense to me. And she's right, So before I go, I want to share a story that I'll personally never forget. And this is a story that I hope it will be uplifting to you and that you might remember. But it's a story about a young man who once jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in a moment of deep, overwhelming depression. Now, he had been diagnosed prior to when he jumped off the bridge with severe anxiety and what's the other thing? I can't remember what the other thing, bipolar and like that. But anyways, on September 25th, 2000, he was 19 years old. He jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, later on, he said he instantly regretted the decision after he jumped. And by the way, that fall from the Golden Gate Bridge to the water is the equivalent of jumping from a 22-story building. That's 220 feet. Now, when he hit the water, the impact shattered 3 of his vertebrae, and it left him paralyzed from the waist down. And while he was in the freezing water, he was unable to swim. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a sea lion actually came and showed up and kept him afloat until the Coast Guard got there. And yes, that was verified by many eyewitnesses who had seen him jump, and they pulled over on the bridge and jumped out of their cars, got on the walkway, and watched. And the Coast Guard, apparently somebody had called the Coast Guard to say somebody jumped from the bridge, so they were already on their way. But they saw not just one, but there were probably, I believe, that if I'm correct, there was like 9 or 10 people that saw the sea lion swimming circles around him and propping him up in the water while the Coast Guard was on the way. Now, to verify that even further, the Coast Guard verified it. They said that when they got there, the sea lion was swimming around him. All right? And that kind of reminds me of another Bible story of a prophet that the Lord had asked to do something. He had asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and preach. And Nineveh was a very bad city. It was a place that nobody especially a Christian person didn't want to be in, because people were immoral and loud and boisterous and drunk and all that. And he didn't want to go. So he got on a ship to go in the other direction. And God made a big storm come up on the sea, and the sailors got so scared they thought somebody on the ship, had caused this. If you remember the story of Jonah, and they call it Jonah and the whale, but it was Jonah and the big fish, and who knows if it was a whale or not. But nonetheless, the big fish came. They wound up casting lots. The lot fell on Jonah, and they tossed him overboard in the middle of that storm. And when they did, the sea calmed down. And the fish came along and swallowed Jonah, and he was in the fish for 3 days. Now, again, I'm sure that wasn't pleasant for Jonah, but, to me, it's amazing how God watches, and that goes back to what I said earlier. God sees you. He knows what you're doing. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what you say. He knows you're depressed, and he's not, he's not a Santa Claus where he's just going to deliver you, without you asking or whatever. But I don't know. It's just, to me, it's miraculous how God provided the fish to save Jonah, and he provided the sea lion to save this young man. So, getting back to the story of this young man, he is only one of the few who not only survived the fall, but uniquely, he regained full mobility. Now, he's in his mid 40s today, and his name is Kevin Hines. Today, he is a successful author, filmmaker, advocate for suicide prevention, and he is a very prolific public speaker. But here's the part that gets me every time I hear this story. When people, and mainly the people that go to see him speak, are therapists and counselors who have, who attend his meetings or his talks, they ask him afterwards, Kevin, what could anyone have said to stop you from jumping in the first place? And you want to know what his answer is? His answer every time is anything. He went on to say, if just one person had said something, anything, it would have shown him that somebody cared and that his life mattered to somebody. And he says, had somebody come up and said anything to him, he wouldn't have jumped. So if you're hurting today, please hold on. Okay? Don't make a permanent decision over a temporary situation. There's help out there. There's hope. And there are people who care. I care. Jesus cares. And if you need prayer or just need someone to talk to, please send me a message at lifeafter55channel@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below in the comment section. Again, you are not alone. Not now, not ever. I truly hope that this video has helped you, or maybe someone you love. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So please, like, share, and comment on the videos. And also, please subscribe to the channel, as all of this helps the algorithm tell YouTube to put this video in front of more people. You never know. You might very well be helping or saving someone just by doing those couple simple things. Now, before you go, I just want to tell you to be sure to join me for episode 10 next week, where we're going to be talking about something that affects millions of older adults: vertigo and tinnitus. If you've ever felt dizzy, off balance, or had ringing in your ears that just won't go away, you won't want to miss that episode. So that's going to do it for this video. And until next time, take care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. And again, let me remind you, don't do anything, don't do anything, that's going to be permanent. Remember, people care. People do care. You might not know it, but I care. Jesus cares, like I said earlier. Okay. And again, if you're in a dark place, email me. Send me a message via email, or leave a message in the comment section down below. I'll be more than happy to pray for you. I'll be more than happy to exchange emails with you, whatever, and try to lift your spirits. I can be a clown, and nobody wants to see anybody not happy all the time. So again, if you're in that dark spot and you're thinking, what's the point? Don't. Reach out. All right. So again, that's going to do it for this video. Lord willing, I'll see each of you next week, and it'll be right here on Life After 55. Bye-bye.